counsel lawyer, Kenneth Howard QC, should have been, cognizant of that fact. And in fact, he didn't seem to care very much. When I told him, that if he didn't return my picket signs, that he'd be charged with theft. When I told him that he had assaulted me, he didn't care. He thought that his position as a Queen's Counsel lawyer would protect him from any legal consequences. He felt that, as a Queen's Counsel lawyer, he was essentially immune from prosecution. Maybe he would actually be prosecuted, but he'd be able to, defend himself against any prosecution at minimum. But basically, he thought he'd be able to weasel out of it. Well, he did kind of weasel his way out of it. But unfortunately for him, his weaseling his way out of it led to him copping a plea, essentially pleading guilty, and me being sent a letter which recognized that Kenneth Howard QC had in fact committed the criminal acts of theft and assault against me, and that he had been subjected to what is called non-judicial treatment for his criminal acts. So essentially he copped a plea, he essentially pled guilty to theft and assault, and he was essentially given a peace order. But he nonetheless weaseled his way out of a lot of things, because there was no actual prosecution, there was no actual contact between me and a Quebec Crown prosecutor before I was given this letter, so that I had no say in the matter in terms of him copping a plea and so on. I could have, if it had been done properly, I could have obtained a restraining order against him. And that never happened. So this was done improperly, but he nonetheless was found by the criminal justice system to have committed 2 crimes against me. And what's interesting actually is, as far as that whole restraining order thing goes, sometime later, Kenneth Howard QC confronted me outside the Unitarian Church of Montreal. A little game that he and certain other Montreal Unitarians have played in the past is that, I'm walking back and forth on the sidewalk. When I see someone coming, I'll move out of the way. I'll move to the left or I'll move to the right to give them. So I actually moved to the right. I gave him plenty of room to pass by me. I was basically right about here, and he moved to his left and basically came face to face with me deliberately. I gave him plenty of room to pass by me, but he deliberately came face to face with me quite close and started accusing me of blocking his entry into the church, which I absolutely was not doing. And in fact, he could have easily entered the church even before coming face to face with me. Nonetheless, he's standing there right in my face, accusing me of blocking his entry into the church. And so I responded to that by saying, no, I'm not. Oh, and by the way, how's my favorite petty thief today? Because he had, in fact, by that point, been found to have committed theft of my picket signs. Well, you should have seen his face. All of a sudden, this arrogant jerk, his sort of arrogant, condescending face turned into a scowl, and I think it got just a few shades of redder, and he turned around and he walked away, and I literally never saw him again. So this idiot, basically accosted me. It wasn't an assault, but he falsely accused me of blocking his passage on the sidewalk. And as a result, I reminded him that he was now a petty thief, a convicted petty thief, or at least found, well, he wasn't convicted because he was never prosecuted, but he was recognized by the criminal justice system as having committed theft and indeed assault against me. So he really didn't like to hear that. He, especially the petty part, I'm sure, because after all, stealing picket signs is a pretty low-end theft. So, in one way, in other ways, actually, I'd say it's fairly high-end theft when you think in the terms of the, basically suppressing a person's freedom of expression. That's a fairly serious matter in my view. So nonetheless, Kenneth Howard QC got his comeuppance, and I literally never saw him again after saying to his face, "How's my favorite petty criminal today?" I think it was, yeah. Now I think I specifically said petty criminal rather than petty thief. So that's another assault. And then of course there's Margot Ellis, the former president of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. I was, circulating in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal on the 4th of January of 2014, if I remember correctly. It was certainly the first Sunday in January of 2014. And Margot Ellis was making her way from the west, coming towards me. And I'm walking this way. So I see Margot Ellis coming towards me. So I moved off to my right, and I stood pretty well off the sidewalk completely. My left foot was probably on the inner edge of the sidewalk, and there was loads of room for Margot Ellis to walk past me. As we can see now, there was quite a bit of snow, but in fact, where I was standing, there was even more snow than further out on the sidewalk. So further out on the sidewalk was actually quite a bit clearer of snow than where I was standing in the drift, as it were. And what did Margot Ellis do? She barged straight into me and elbowed me with such force that I fell completely off my feet on my back in the snow. She delivered a body check worthy of a NHL hockey player, or indeed a female rugby player, which it's possible she may well be. This was an assault, and it was actually one of the more serious assaults in terms of actual physical, harm. I mean, it was, not punching the face or anything. Like, all these assaults I'm talking about are comparatively low-level assaults, but they're assaults nonetheless. I was given a body check by Margot Ellis, and what was worse is that about an hour later the police showed up, and I hadn't called them because I'm not one of these people who calls the police immediately at the first sign of trouble. When Margot Ellis assaulted me, I debated whether or not I should lay criminal charges against her for the assault, but there was no rush to do so. No, I felt that there was no emergency situation. I don't like to, waste the time of the police with, low-end stuff. And this was, I wasn't hurt to the best of my knowledge, and I certainly haven't noticed any physical effects, long-term physical effects from that assault. She could have damaged my liver or kidneys or something with that body check and that elbow, but to date I'm not aware of such things. So, I hadn't called the police. I thought, well, I'll give them a call, during the week and see what they think. I wasn't even intent on having her charged with assault. I wasn't like, no, I'm going to have her charged with assault. I was like, oh, we'll see what the cops have to say and we'll decide what to do. So the cops show up, and the next thing you know, I'm being accused, essentially, of having knocked down a woman in front of the church. And when I said, no such thing happened, one of the police officers said, we have eyewitnesses. So now he's telling me that not only am I being accused of knocking a woman down outside the church, but that, the police have eyewitnesses to this alleged assault. Well, they can't possibly have eyewitnesses to an assault that never happened. And I made that point to the police. And what this does is this implicates at least one other person. This is no longer just Margot Ellis on her own accusing me of assault, but someone else is colluding with her in this. And so I basically made it clear to the police, well, no, I had not assaulted anyone. I told them that I had video of my protest, which could show that, but not only that, I told them, well, I actually have video which shows Margot Ellis, or I don't know if I named her, but I said I have video of a woman assaulting me, quite the exact opposite of what you're here for, and since you're here, since you showed up, I want to have this woman charged with assault, and on top of that, I want whoever is responsible for calling you here on false pretenses to be charged with public mischief, because it is the criminal act of public mischief to make a false report to the police. So it was bad enough that I'd been physically assaulted by a Montreal Unitarian, specifically Margot Ellis, but on top of that, she and or one or two other people actually had the unmitigated gall to try to pretend that I had assaulted a woman outside the church. Good day, sir. I'm protesting. You speak French or English?
English, little.
Yeah, a little, okay. So you don't speak a lot of English? Just some, yeah. Okay, I'm protesting clergy abuse, bad behavior by ministers, okay, including sexual abuse, and also other problems with the church. And
Problem?
Hmm?
Problem?
Yes.
About what?
About clergy abuse, abuse by ministers, abusive behavior by ministers, also intolerance and bigotry by some church members. A lot of different things, but you got quite a few problems.
They help or they help if you